All right, welcome everybody to this session of Cloud Lunch and Learn. Today we have Juarez providing a session on introduction to semantic kernel for Java with a lot of demoing as well as giving you some background around how that all works in terms of GenAI environment. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Juarez. You can give a proper introduction of yourself. If you have any comments or anything during the session, please put them in the YouTube comments, and we can ask Juarez the question. Otherwise, Juarez, it is all up to you. Have a great
Thank
session.
you very much, Dwayne. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now. Just one sec. Okay. Let me see here. Cool. Okay. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Juarez Barbosa Jr. Today I'm here to talk about semantic kernel with Java. It's an introduction. And yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I work as a senior principal Java developer evangelist at Oracle. I'm speaking from Dublin, Ireland. I have over 20 years of experience in software engineering in DevRel. You can see some of the companies that I've worked for here regarding my career, some distinguished roles. And as a developer evangelist, I'm a frequent speaker at several conferences worldwide. But that's not to talk about my profile, of course. So let's get started. This is our agenda for this evening, depending on where you are, of course. I want to talk a little bit about AI and GenAI and synthetic content. Then speak of artificial intelligence and AGI. And then you start to have a look at OpenAI, which needs no introduction. Pretty much everyone knows, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and all the tools created by the company. Position AI at Microsoft, okay, because that connects with the topic here, semantic kernel, which is a kind of framework for creating GenAI applications. And last but not least, I have a very simple demo here. It's a kind of hello world with semantic kernel, but I just want to show you the details on how to configure it and actually how easy it is to use it as well, okay? And if we have time, I will also explore a little bit of Oracle for Java and database developers, okay? As usual, I have all the technical references here, including many blog posts that I prepared and all the links to the official documentation as well. And just a quick disclaimer here, my talk is, as I said, an introduction for business and technical audiences. It's a high-level, exploration of the topics. And so it is not necessarily a talk for machine learning and deep learning engineers. So you should not expect to see, statistics, mathematics, linear algebra, and all those things related to, deep learning models, GenAI models, and so on, right? Speaking of AI and GenAI, then, at the end of the day, when we talk about generative AI, it is because, the content is synthetic and it is generated. We can see here the city, of Dublin, in Ireland, picture it in a kind of futuristic cyberpunk cityscape. And I created these images with GenAI. Okay, so you can see how easy it is and interesting to actually use those tools to create content. And so in a nutshell, GenAI and artificial intelligence, of course, because we have AI as the superset, and then we have machine learning, we have deep learning, and then we have GenAI. Okay, so GenAI is about pretty much the same artificial intelligence algorithms and the so-called transformer models. Okay, when we have the acronym GPT, the T stands for transformer. That's a kind of specialized model that has the capability of generating content. And again, as I explained, the content that can be text, as a result of an interaction and a popped prompt, you can generate images, video, you can even generate code as well. I'm sure that you've heard about, or perhaps you are using tools like, GitHub Copilot. Oracle has the Oracle AI Assistant as well. There are many other assistants and copilots at the moment that can be used to create code. And many other, I would say, different types of content can be generated depending on the specific library or API or framework that you may use to generate this content. Okay. As I cited, the generation is usually a result of an popped prompt. Okay, or there's an entire area called prompt engineering now, the way that you can frame the questions the right way, so you can get the best results from your LLM models, by framing the questions the right way, and so that you can get meaningful answers. Okay, and as usual, and as it is common regarding all things technology, there are some ethical issues related to that. Things like misuse, deepfakes. There are several solutions now that you can, as an example, get a photograph and generate a video with a photograph of a person. Bias and discrimination as well. That's why we need to foster and adopt things like responsible AI, and have the proper guardrails in place to avoid, deviations like that. Automation and job replacements as well, because we, LLMs and models and GenAI and even machine learning and deep learning, there are even now, some models that are specific, in particular to things like, robotics, industrial automation, IIoT, industrial Internet of Things, and so on. And last but not least, cybersecurity and cyber criminals as well, because those guys, they always try to take advantage of good technology to achieve their goals. So, of course, we should expect that, the hackers or the so-called crackers, they would use GenAI to create malicious applications, right? On top of everything, we have applications, and that's the interesting part of it, because my purpose here is to show you that you can use Semantic Kernel to create GenAI applications. But the key takeaway is that you can use Java, okay, because the other options are, as far as I remember, Python and .NET, C#, and JavaScript as well. But at the end of the day, Java is a good option for you, but the purpose is to actually create applications. And we are talking about pretty much all the business verticals and different types of applications, including, things like entertainment, healthcare, financial services, energy and utilities, and so on. And that is now, an opportunity for us, because it has become extremely easy for us to create such applications. If we consider that, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, in order to operate and deploy AI at scale, I would have to train the models and then, have the full governance regarding the infrastructure, deployments, the entire process for, the operation of this application. And I would have to manage and own the entire environment as well. But with the advent of OpenAI and ChatGPT, now we can consider that AI is somehow a commodity, because it is similar to what we have with cloud computing in comparison to the old, that still exists, but the old on-prem, data center solutions and applications, right? I can just go and create a subscription with a GenAI provider, OpenAI, or even Oracle, with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure GenAI service, or Azure OpenAI. There are so many options, right? And then with that subscription, possibly you can consume and use your API, right? We are talking about easy ways regarding integration, possibly the HTTP protocol and JSON as a data format. And with this advancement, we can say that the ultimate goal, is to achieve something called AGI, the artificial general intelligence. And that's why when we look at the market, nowadays, at the moment, pretty much all the tech companies and, universities, researchers, big tech, academia, they are all investing in GenAI, to achieve AGI. AGI, it will actually position the artificial intelligence solutions and even the models, and the services and the capabilities related to that to be at the same level of us, human beings. There are some areas that are already there, things like, text translation, speech recognition, and so on, but other areas are still evolving. But AGI is the ultimate goal, and that's why we are seeing, those massive investments towards, promoting and supporting all the interesting and powerful initiatives around artificial intelligence. Speaking of OpenAI, as I said, it needs no introduction. It started, this trend into 2022 with ChatGPT. At the end of the day, it fosters and, it is basically based, regarding ChatGPT and the initial releases in something called NLP, natural language processing, which is a kind of specific field inside, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning as well. But it offers it as a service, as I explained. So we have the pre-trained models that are customizable. You can use an API. As I said, we have the OpenAI REST API. So yes, the protocol is HTTP, easy for us. And behind the scenes, we have the scalable infrastructure, right? The use of those powerful processors, the GPUs, right? That are actually useful not only for artificial intelligence. You may remember that with blockchain and, cryptocurrencies and the different consensus algorithms like proof of work and proof of stake and so many different ones, proof of authority and so on. It was a requirement actually to also use GPUs. Same things with, the other emerging technologies. I'm talking about AI and blockchain, but also possibly, mixed reality, extended reality, virtual reality, or augmented reality, anything that is graphical. And that's why we started with this concept of, GPUs with companies like NVIDIA and others, right, to help with the mathematical computation of those vectors and, and all the calculations that are required for graphical based applications, but that is also, of course, useful for AI applications. Okay, we have this link here. Sora is an interesting model and solution to generate videos. I do advise you to have a look, but I assume that OpenAI and ChatGPT, right? Let's talk about AI and AI at Microsoft then. Okay, you can see this link here, aka.ms/semantic kernel. I do advise you to have a look at it later. But the opportunity regarding, the investment that Microsoft made regarding OpenAI, as far as I remember, $1 billion and then $5 billion to support it, and that's why Azure adopted OpenAI with Azure OpenAI as the core of the AI solution, and in the core of all the services that are using that. You can see some examples here, things like Bing and Office and Windows and Xbox and GitHub. They use the GenAI models and LLMs and all the capabilities to infuse AI and use then, and actually, I would say, modernize those applications, but that they also offer that as a service, with many different things, including the semantic kernel, which is a kind of a framework that you can use to create applications. Okay, so you can see this block diagram here. At the end of the day, we have the AI infrastructure, foundation models, and then the semantic kernel doing the AI orchestration. Okay, and on top of that, we have the copilots and the plugin extensibility that can be used by applications. Okay, so we can say that at the end of the day, the semantic kernel is a kind of library or framework to orchestrate, pretty much all the moving parts and the important components that will allow you to create those innovative applications. Okay, and as I cited before, you can see the main programming languages here. There are other non-official, options regarding not only the semantic kernel, but OpenAI and all the GenAI providers, the likes of Cohere and, the open source models as well provided by companies like Meta and IBM and other services like the OCI GenAI service as well, and the SDK that can be used, in projects that are actually being coded in many different programming languages. But with the semantic kernel, the main ones are Python, .NET, and Java. And as I said, my purpose here is just to show you how easy it is to get started with a Java application that uses the semantic kernel. Okay, it provides, of course, easy integration with those GenAI providers. You can see Hugging Face here, OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, and I talked about Cohere, and you can use, the services provided by Oracle as well and our competitors. Okay, but so you have choice, and that's a good thing. As software developers, we know that there's no silver bullet regarding technology. I'm inclined to say that if you have an opportunity, and depending on how invested you are regarding the Java technologies and the Java ecosystem, that you should start with Java, but you decide, and of course it depends on the projects and the customer requirements as well. Okay, so we have the semantic kernel as a kind of a bridge between the LLMs and your code, and we see two different personas here, the machine learning researcher and the app developer, right? And that's why I said that my focus is on the application developers, because I just want to enable you to quickly understand how you can create your GenAI applications with Java without having to learn Python in case you are not familiar with Python, right? And that's what we have at the core, with semantic kernel. You decide about the code. It's your code, your models. You have, the flexibility to target the different GenAI providers or use open source models that you can deploy and manage at scale as well, if that's your preferred choice. Okay, your memory is your prompts, so it's entirely available and flexible for you to create such applications. Speaking of the main components, we have plugins, planners, and the personas there. Okay, those are the core building blocks of semantic kernel. Okay, and by customizing those key components, you can create, as many solutions as you want. Okay, and as I said, you can infuse AI into your applications regardless of the business vertical that you want to target. Okay, and that's a good thing. So plugins, they will encapsulate, as you can see, the interaction here, plugins, semantic kernel, your application, other AI applications. Okay, so plugins, as usual, pretty much everyone knows what a plugin is about, regardless of the technology or the platform. The idea here is the same. Okay, it will actually encapsulate the concrete implementation of a single unit that will provide, of course, the functionality that you need. Okay, and it exposes it with a known interface or a contract or API. Okay, and with the semantic kernel, you can leverage it in other services then. So at the end of the day, if you create a plugin, it is a kind of reusable module, okay, or plugin, of course. Any reusability in software development is always a good thing, right? Because that's how we can perhaps achieve better productivity and in the mid to long term, provided that you are testing and evolving and improving a given plugin or software component, because that's what a plugin is, right? You can say that you will harden it in terms of quality and delivering the features that you need, all the mechanisms that will be available, and then you can reuse it, right? Semantic of native. Okay, to make a plugin, you will need to create some functions. They can be semantic or native. You decide. Okay, so you can see actually here the options in terms of the way that you can create it. You can reuse other plugins as well as a kind of a composition to create your customized plugin, and you can of course implement low-level concrete implementations of the functionality, or just extend and implement the interfaces depending on the programming language. But as I said, flexibility is actually at the core of it, which is a nice thing for us, right? Planners, a planner is a kind of a function that will take the initial request and return a list of the steps that are required to fulfill that request, okay? And AI will use the mix and match plugins, register it, then, in a kind of composition, as I said, to deliver the results by recombining them into a series of steps, okay? You can see a simple representation here. Person has a request. We have the semantic kernel as the orchestrator, the framework. We have the plugins and the plan. And with that plan, then you can then use the handlebars or the stepwise planners, okay, to actually, I would say, execute and effectively achieve your goal as an ultimate step regarding the entire process, okay? The personas are, something that will define the agent's role, okay? It's kind of a set of instructions. They will also have the memory that will provide a broader context, in terms of the continuation of the interaction and the requests and everything else, okay? Some examples of agents here: project manager, researcher, copywriter, designer, okay? And this is something that allows the creation of the so-called multi-agent assistants in solutions, okay? And that is perhaps a trend that we are seeing at the moment. Pretty much everyone is talking about, using agentic systems, and that can be achieved with a semantic kernel and other solutions provided by Microsoft as well at the moment. Some projects that are actually being made available by Microsoft Research. Okay, so, and in terms of managing the personas, with the plugins, the planners will orchestrate the agents, and then we can choose the best agent for that request. Okay, so you can see that how flexible and how perhaps adaptive and dynamic that can be. Okay, we have the agent or the orchestrator plugin, we have the project manager agent, and then this one, it will, as an example here, orchestrate the other agents as needed, right? Memories, that is what will provide context to the initial request, okay? They can be fed into the SK, the semantic kernel, in a few different ways. You can use conventional key value pairs, and that's the simple example that I have here, which, by the way, I just reused one of the examples from the semantic kernel GitHub repo for Java, right? You can also use the conventional local storage, where you save information to a file, you kind of persist it, you serialize it, and then you can retrieve it later to be reused. And also semantic memory search, you can also represent text information as a long vector of numbers, known as embeddings. And with that, we can use the, embedding stores in the vector databases, including the Oracle database, which is with the version 23 AI is a vector database as well. And then you can implement things like, RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And so it's extremely flexible in terms of, adopting and implementing memories as well, okay? Last but not least, the prompts, right? That's how we communicate with the model. It will serve as the input that will actually, activate or perhaps provide to the model what you are actually looking for in terms of the results and the expected meaningful responses that you may get from that model. And the prompt engineering field, depending on the specific model or the solution, there are some best practices that you can use to get better results and the most relevant results from those prompt interactions as well, which is beyond the topic of this presentation here. We are focusing on the semantic kernel, but that's an important part as well. Okay, so let's have a look at a quick demo that I have here. Let me just change something here. Okay, so let's shift gears. I have a simple application here, SK Java intro. That's VS Code, of course. So it is just actually a kind of hello world application. Okay, but I just want to show you how easy it is to create this application. You can see, as usual in Java, the imports regarding the dependencies. Okay, so you can see a couple of dependencies from Azure AI OpenAI, and a synchronous client here, and the client builder. Okay, that of course I will use as a factory for my client. And then I have some things related to Azure in terms of authentication. This is a core key credential. And then I have the classes that come from the semantic kernel library for Java, right? Kernel, SK builders, configuration exception, as part of exceptions, orchestration, I have the SK context, the context that I talked about, and the completion SK function as well, okay? Because at the end of the day, we will execute that function, okay? So you can see the class is called main, and I have a main method here as usual in Java. And first thing, I will retrieve the key that I need to interact with the GenAI provider. That can be Azure OpenAI or OpenAI, right? I'm using OpenAI here. And I configured it as an environment variable just because I don't want to disclose my key, but you see an example of a key here, right? With that, I can then use the client builder to and use the credentials to create an async client, as you can see here. So I have the client, right? With that, I will move forward to build the kernel with test completion service, okay? Because we are talking about chat completions here. And so I have kernel, the SK builders kernel, and I call kernel with default AI service, SK builders text completion, with the client that I instantiated in the previous steps. And with model, I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct, okay? This is something that you have to pay attention to depending on the specific version of the endpoint and the API that you are interacting. Perhaps, some of the latest models would be available. After that, I will import the skill, okay? And I have here some hard-coded skills under resources. You can see skills, and I have fun skill, and I have excuses, and I have jokes, and I have limerick, which happens to be a city in Ireland, but that's not the case here. The prompt is coded here, so I have a template for the prompt here, as usual. If you use OpenAI or Azure OpenAI, you know what I'm talking about. And this config JSON as well, I have some configurations for instructing the important decomplextions here. But going back to the model then, this case here, I'm using skills, import skills from resources, that's for the kernel. And I have skills, fun skill, and joke. Okay, so I will basically be using this one here. All right. And then I have the function, completion SK function joke, and I will call kernel get function fun skill joke. And with that, I have the context then. I will activate the context call build, set a variable first as input, time travel to dinosaur age, and then I set the variable, the style, and I run it in a kind of wacky way here. With that, I can invoke. As you can see, it's an asynchronous invoke regarding this code sample here. And after that, I get the result, and I can print the result. So you can see how easy and simple that is. Okay, I can execute it here now. So let's have a look. So run without debugging. And if I still have a connection, I think I do. Yes. So you can see, because you can see the response that I got here. Because I'm using this style here. But if I want, I can actually just implement some variations here, maybe funny, and then I can run it again. Let's see. Possibly we'll see a difference in terms of the style. You can see get Juarez kicked. Okay. All right. Maybe I can also do something, I don't know, sarcastic. So you can see that, all the encapsulation and the complexities regarding the entire interaction, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a call to our remote REST API, right? Including things like authentication and the HTTP protocol with the request and response headers and the request body and the response body, and processing that, the entire, request response cycle. Everything is encapsulated, so you can see that with a few lines of code, I can actually achieve, a quite elaborated scenario here. Although the code is simple, but behind the scenes there are many things happening here. Okay, I'm not sure if I saved it, but yeah. Okay, let's run again. Sarcastic. Let's see what we get as a result here. Dino ignore. Okay, cool. All right. So in terms of the code sample here, I think that's pretty much it. Oh no, let me show you the, I'm using Maven as a video tool. Okay, I can show you, I have this, it's just a Maven project that I can easily compile. I assume that you know Maven, which is one of the main build tools for Java, along with Gradle. Okay, but you can use Gradle as well. So no tricks here. And I have the PON file, which is the build configuration file for Maven. Okay, so yes, I'm using Java 22 here. And in terms of the dependencies from the semantic kernel, there are several different, jars or dependencies or libraries. Of course, we have the core, but we have planners, connectors to AI and OpenAI, but that could be Azure OpenAI as well. I'm using memory for Azure Cognitive Service and a plugin core as well. And yes, this is for logging, log4j, but this is not directly related to the semantic kernel and the interaction here. Okay. All right, so now I just want to talk a little bit about other topics here. First, introduce you to and show you what Oracle has for Java and database developers, including some contributions to interesting projects related to GenAI as well in the scope of the Java ecosystem, like Spring AI, which is under the Spring umbrella, Spring Boot and Spring Framework. And another interesting library is called LangChain 4J. Sorry, folks. Which is, I'm a little bit under the weather. My apologies. LangChain 4J, we have LangChain, in the Python ecosystem. So LangChain 4J is a kind of port of LangChain to the Java, ecosystem and world, right? But before I show you a couple of blog posts that I have with those projects as well, let me talk about the Oracle Database 23 AI, which is our latest release of our mission critical database. We have over 300 major new features. Impossible for me to talk about them all this evening here, but I want to focus on the first pillar, AI for data features, because it has something called AI vector search. Okay, so the Oracle database is now effectively a vector database as well, including a new vector data type that you can use from plain SQL. Okay, there are some special functions that you can use to do things like similarity searches, with cosine and dot, distance calculations. And the database can also store the embeddings that I talked about, which are actually the vector floating point vectors that are the representation of unstructured data. So we can store images, videos, PDF files, and you name it. And then with that, instead of running a query against the database with SQL, ANSI SQL, and using the where clause with some precise search keys that you would compare against the records and the column values for a given record, so that you can get the result set. Similarity searches, they will actually transform the unstructured data and store there then as floating point vectors, the embeddings, and that can be used actually to perhaps allow you to run more powerful queries in a more meaningful way, because with the similarity search, then you can actually consider that the characteristics of a given object or image or video or anything or a PDF file that will become a kind of an entity with some characteristics, and then you can compare those characteristics and retrieve, as a result, a set of occurrences that will align with those characteristics. So that's something extremely useful when you are doing something like RAG, as I explained, retrieval augmented generation. Because the LLM models, they are somehow first non-deterministic. So every time you run an interaction with LLM model, even if you are providing the same prompt and the same input params, possibly you can get different results. Okay. And the second thing is that those models usually they don't know about recent happenings. A model does not know about an event that happened yesterday in the morning. Okay, when they are released and deployed at scale, if you ask a model about something that happened yesterday, possibly you will get a response, but it is not a precise one. With RAG, you can then augment the context of that interaction by actually ingesting, documents or unstructured data that will actually complement and be used as part of a response in terms of this interaction. And with that, you can start to get more meaningful answers, right? That's useful if you are creating, an intelligent chatbot for your company, and that's a healthcare company, and you have a ton of business-related data and domain-related data, and you want to really, provide to your customers a very, I would say, a rock-solid, quite supportive chatbot. Okay, with RAG, you can then just augment the context of that interaction so that you can really provide meaningful answers to your customers. Okay, other features here related to developers and the usual mission critical features that we have regarding the Oracle database, but I'm going to skip those. If you want to have a look and use this database, the interesting thing is that we have the database 23 AI free for developers. It is the same database, kind of same upstream component regarding the version of it that we have running on top of our cloud, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or the Oracle Cloud Platform, as a PaaS service, right? And that's nice because with this free version, you can get a container image, you can get a virtual box image as well if you want to use a VM. And it has the same features as the autonomous database that runs on Oracle Cloud. It is autonomous because Oracle, even before this GenAI and AI wave that we are seeing over the last couple of years, Oracle started to infuse AI into our database years ago, as far as I remember, in 2017, 18. To have some background running processes that are AI-based to perform those usual tasks that are required and performed by DBAs, things like performance tuning and security patching and so on. So this database, the free one, is the same component, but of course the autonomous database, the one that you can get if you deploy a cloud instance of it, it has, the autonomous part of it as well, okay? Speaking in terms of Java applications and the Oracle database, this database is interesting because we call it a converged database. Okay, so at the end of the day, you can have a relational database as spatial. You can have NoSQL, Graph, XML, OLAP, the vector database, and have it acting as a vector store. As I explained, there is even something called blockchain tables in case you want to leverage the characteristics of a blockchain as a technology, things like better traceability, better security, and so on. And you don't want to stand up a full-fledged blockchain network, you can use the Oracle database and create a blockchain table, which will offer you the same characteristics of blockchain. So this converged database, at the end of the day, we are talking about one single database engine. Okay, so if you have a relational model or system that you are migrating, and then you want to use NoSQL as well, possibly you don't want to get another engine for the NoSQL bit, and that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, regarding solutions architecture and even software architecture, the more moving parts you add to your architecture, perhaps you are adding a new single point of failure, so you are increasing the complexity of your solution. But with the Oracle database, it is converged. With a single database, you get pretty much everything that you might need in terms of requirements. And you can see the famous Java logos here regarding including the JVM-friendly languages like Java, Scala, Kotlin, Groovy, and the old and the classic Java application servers, WebSphere, WebLogic, and also reactive. You can see Hibernate as kind of de facto object relational mapping library for Java, Spring, and so on. And in terms of connectivity, you can see there are so many options here for you to connect to the database. The red rectangle, the dashed one here, that's interesting because it comprises the JDBC driver, the Java database connectivity driver, the component that will allow you to have the connectivity to the database, but it also encapsulates something called reactive extensions. That's effectively the implementation of the Java API flow that was actually released as part of Java SE 9. Okay, so you don't have to deploy another jar to use this one, and you can start using reactive programming as well. But beyond that, we have more specialized libraries, including R2DBC, which stands for Reactive Relational Database Connectivity. So you can use, the reactive strings operators. It aligns with the reactive strings manifesto and the specification. And other options, including there's another library called RSI, the Reactive Strings Ingestion Library. And in our Java driver, it does implement something called virtual threads in Java now, released as a GA in JDK 21. And that's nice because reactive strings and the reactive libraries are the likes of Akka, and RX Java, and and what else? Project Reactor that belongs to the Spring ecosystem as well. They are good, okay, but at the end of the day, when you are using a reactive library, it's really difficult for you. It's good for performance, but it's really difficult for you to debug the code, because when you delegate your call to one of those components, you never know exactly which component behind the scenes is executing the call, right? So you can revert with the Java Virtual Threads implementation of our driver to using synchronous blocking calls with JDBC, which is a good thing. Why? Because all the Java tools regarding the entire ecosystem, they align with the Java threading model. Okay, so that's the easiest way for you to have full visibility about what is happening with your code without disrupting, that was implemented without disrupting the Java threading model. And so virtual threads are definitely a great addition to the Java platform, and you can use it with the JDBC driver as well. Okay. At the end of the day, I'm talking about all those features here because they relate to AI, right? There's no AI without data. Okay, so data is the new oil, as people say, right? And data access is critical regarding your enterprise mission critical applications, because if you don't have the right approach to data and database connectivity, right, and data integration, at the end of the day, if you experience a bottleneck at the data access layer, that will possibly propagate to the other layers regarding your application, right? And sorry, guys. And you don't want to perhaps have this bad experience because your customers will ultimately experience some performance related issues, right? So it is always a good idea to make sure that you are using the best libraries and the best practices and blueprints, and of course the best libraries and components to implement database access. Okay. Yes, last but not least, I want to talk about three things here quickly. The first one is Oracle Live Labs. They are actually some free workshops that we offer as a platform. So you just go to developer.oracle.com/live labs. Hundreds of labs. They are not only related to Oracle technologies, but also Python, JavaScript, of course, Java, DevOps, Cloud, Linux, so you name it, okay? Have a look because they are 100% free, okay? And they are very good workshops that you can run at your home on your own time, okay? And Oracle ACE program, this is a program for distinguished community members that we have. Three different tiers here, as you can see: associate, pro, and director. So if you are, participating in a community like Cloud Lunch and Learn or any other community, and you have good contributions, you have blog posts, code samples, you are, delivering talks at meetups or conferences, many different ways that you can actually support and foster a development community and developers. Feel free to approach me on social media, okay? Because I can understand how far you are in terms of your contributions and perhaps help you in identifying gaps. And I'm more than happy to nominate you to become an Oracle ACE as well, okay? And the last thing, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Yes, we have our cloud platform. It is the generation 2 of it, okay? Redesigned from scratch with the best practices possible, and the experiences from the industry. And at the moment, we are actually... we have a strong partnership with Microsoft, but also recently announced during our flagship event, Cloud World in Las Vegas, also with Google, Cloud Platform, GCP, and also AWS, okay, regarding our database and multi-cloud in general, okay? And this cloud has some free services as well, okay? Always free services, lifelong ones. So if you happen to have a project or a side project or a need for an autonomous database, object storage, or VMs, or there are some components that you can use, provided that you don't go above the threshold in terms of utilization. They will always be free for you, okay, including, as far as I remember, 2 instances of the autonomous database with up to 1 gigabyte of storage, okay? So have a look at this cloud platform as well. As I said, the technical references are here for you: Semantic Kernel, the introduction, the latest release of it for Java, and also there's a new Java Intelligent Application templates, including the frameworks that I talked about, Spring AI and LangChain4j, which I have also listed here. I have a couple of blog posts using the database 23 AI as a vector store with Spring AI and also with LangChain4j, okay? A link to the Oracle Database 23 AI and other libraries regarding the JDBC libraries and all the options that you might want to use, okay? I can actually show you some of those links here quickly. Okay, so an intro to Semantic Kernel, that's the first link that I provided, okay? So you can get more details about all the components beyond this intro session this evening. Okay, the announcement that happened this month, okay, regarding version 1.4.0 of SK4 Java and all the released features here, and the intelligent application templates as well as part of the Azure AI Gallery. And they also cover the frameworks that I talked about, LangChain4j and Spring AI, okay? And those links that I presented, if you go to my blog on Medium, it is juarez.medium.com. You will see that I have one blog post, including the code repo, the code samples, and you can use the database as I explained, to execute it. So you can have a look. It's a RAG scenario here where I ingest a PDF file with the Spring components here, the LangChain components, LangChain4j components. I ingest this PDF file, and then I execute, the RAG use case here. Same thing with Spring AI. Okay, if you are using Spring, that's easy for you because it uses the same component model, annotations, same life cycles, and pretty much if you are a Spring developer, it's extremely easy for you to adopt Spring AI with the Oracle database and OpenAI, but you can use Cohere or any other GenAI provider, and all the steps for these blog post and the code, the associated code sample is available as well. Okay, so remember to have a look. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in the Cloud Lunch and Learn community again and deliver this introduction talk about Semantic Kernel for Java developers. This is my X, not Twitter, right? Handle. And yes, and this QR code, you can also get, the information regarding all my social media channels. So if you want to, get this deck or pointers to the resources that I talked about, feel free to approach to reach out to me on social media. All right. Once again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juarez. Great information. Recommend that if you're listening in on this live or on the YouTube channel later on, reach out any questions or comments, as well as make use of those resources. Those are very helpful, and I appreciate you sharing those with everybody, Juarez. So thank you very much for contributing your session.
And thank you very much. You are very welcome, Joey. It's always a pleasure to participate here.
Yep, good to see you, and take care, and everybody have a happy holiday as well, since we're closing
likewise
that season as well, and a happy new year, and look forward to future Cloud Lunch and Learn sessions going into 2025. So thanks, Juarez. Thanks, everybody.
See you next year.
The rest of your day. Yep, take
Bye-bye.
care.